Breaking news with Keegs and Kyle, and the Jays lost an arm, but they got a younger stud arm. The next day, Jose Soriano coming to the Jays from the Angels. Keegs.
Big one, guys. This front office has shown over and over again they're not afraid to trade top prospects. They're not afraid to trade former first-round picks like Arjun Namala. Like, this is a big package. This is a big trade. And more often than not, the Blue Jays front office wins these. Like, they time their risks very well. Jose Soriano fits the Blue Jays so perfectly. And if you look at what they've done with Dylan Cease, I think this is a similar type of play. He is not as talented as Dylan Cease because only a few people are, but he's kind of a step down from Dylan Cease with that same great stuff. And yeah, maybe he struggles with control sometimes, but if you can press the right buttons at the right time with this pitcher, it gets really fun. He is under team control in 2027 and 2028. So this takes care of the rotation. It's now Cease, Soriano, Savage. Maybe you get Cody Ponce back, Spencer Miles. They'll figure that out. This was the hard part, though. This was the big buy they were looking to do. They'll probably still sell, but they wanted to buy something. This is it. It is a very big deal, and they had to outbid some buyers to do this, guys. No small price, led by Arjun Namala.
It's a very clear statement sent to the fan base that this is simply a retool and not by any means a rebuild. He was one of the three best pitchers, and they've now all been dealt, basically available at this deadline that we're aware of. And as you state, they have now set themselves up for next season. And listen, the miracles happen perhaps the rest of this season.
Yeah, the rest of this year matters too, guys. Like we were talking, it's 7, 8, 10% chance. That's not nothing. You know, it's not enough for you to go all in and buy, but it's enough for you to stay relevant and see what happens. Come on, we've seen how this happens every year. The Tigers, the Guardians, a couple years back, it happens every year. Maybe. We'll see. But it reminds me, guys, of something that Max Scherzer said Sunday after his start. He said, listen, like there's 40,000 people in here every night. There are. Like if the Blue Jays were getting 12,000 fans a night, whatever. You're not making any money, blow it up, try to get fans' interest next year. That's not what's happening. The Blue Jays are not in a position where you rebuild whatsoever. Certain teams in every sport are above that. They transcend to a different level where you do not rebuild. Because when you have money, you can retool. You can at least stay good. Your floor has to be good, not blowing it up anymore. And adding Soriano does that, man. Helps you a little bit this year. They might even have a better rotation down the stretch than they have had all year. Like, this is going to be a decent rotation. And next year and beyond, man, getting 2 years of Soriano, it also sets them up, guys, like Jose Berrios. When they dealt for Berrios in 2021, he had a year left, but they extended him. Berrios was right around the same age as Soriano is now, 27, going right into his prime. Those prime years for a pitcher, kind of late 20s, first couple of years of your 30s. That's when the Blue Jays like to acquire pitchers. Look at Berrios. Hyun-Jin Ryu was a bit older, but Chris Bassett going into his 30s. Gausman, Dylan Cease. Over and over, the Blue Jays keep showing us that they're willing to pay for pitching. Pay for pitching when you know what it is already. Developing pitching, it's a risky game. Every once in a while, you get a Trey Savage. Cool. But it's easier if you just go out and pay for it. And that's what the Jays have done here. And I love the move, guys. I really do. It's very expensive. But I think the Blue Jays have earned the benefit of the doubt at this point that when they make big moves, more often than not, they win them. There's not that prospect out there where we're thinking, oh, my God, remember when the Jays gave up blank? They haven't been burned by any of these. So by default, I like it when the Jays go out and get aggressive.
And when you say they have to pay a price, that would be Arjun Namala, one of the few prospects that the casual Jays fans would know because this guy's been in the pipeline. He's destined to be a star in every Jays fan's minds.
Man, first rounder in 2023, like he really represented one of those top couple prospects. He's having a good year this year between high A and double A. Has 8 home runs, 800 plus OPS. Like, he's looked good. Hasn't always been the most consistent. He's faded as years have gone on. But still, this is a guy with legitimate power potential who I think can play shortstop long term. Like, not a guy who eventually has to move to third base. He can really play it. And the Blue Jays invested a lot in Arjun Namala. man. A lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources. They're very high on him. But again, they keep showing that former first rounders, top 5 ranked prospects, they're not afraid to deal them. And that's the price you need to pay to get into this market. Most of this trade market is more like the Kevin Gausman deal, where mid-range guys going back and forth. And once you're outside of the top 10 prospects, it's really all up to your taste. What type of prospect do you want? How old do you want them to be? It gets a bit blurrier. But these premium prospects are hard to find. And you've got to pay a real premium to go out and get someone like Soriano. But guys, I know it's maybe the lazy way out, but I really just, by default right now, when this front office makes a big deal like this, my first instinct is to like it, because on their trades alone, I'm talking about, more often than not, they're winning these, and they've avoided getting burned by a prospect really turning into a star elsewhere.
And I can't help but think, Keegan, just looking at this trade from Jose Soriano's point of view, just the adrenaline boost that goes with leaving the baseball graveyard that has become the Los Angeles Angels and going to what is arguably one of the best places from any aspect to play in all of the major leagues, clubhouse wise, city wise, just the way they treat their players. That has to be a huge mood boost for him to be on a team that, quite frankly, just gets taken a little bit more seriously.
And attendance.
And attendance.
Oh, yeah, it'll be weird for him. First start, it'll be 42,000 people. Like, where am I, man? It's a real step up in every regard. And every player who comes to the Blue Jays, like, I'm not trying to do marketing and promotions for this organization, but no BS. Every player that comes to this organization raves about it, man. And I've actually started to believe in that value. Like, I used to think it was more just a PR spin, the type of fluff you get from teams that want to be taken seriously like that. But I really, truly believe in the value of that now. How the Blue Jays take care of their players, their facilities. Spring training will probably be an eye-opener for Soriano down in Dunedin with what the Blue Jays have done there. The Blue Jays are going to get the best out of him. I think we've seen this over and over from Pete Walker. And if Pete Walker as a pitching coach has a specialty, it is taking a really good pitcher and finding that one extra thing. We saw it going back to Robbie Ray when he came here and won a Cy Young Award. We've seen it with veteran pitchers over and over, Dylan Cease being the best recent example. And again, Soriano isn't Cease because nobody is Cease, but he's the same type of pitcher. He throws 97 or 98. He's got this big knuckle curveball that's just devastating when he's throwing it right. If you can get him in the zone and get him just a bit more consistent, you have a legitimate big league number 2 on this roster. And it's not about talent at all. You don't need to teach him anything. He doesn't need any more talent. Like, Jose Soriano's got all the talent in the world. You need to make him 5% more consistent, and you win the trade. I know it's a steep price, but if you can get just a bit more out of Soriano, man, the talent is undeniable.
The Soriano news broke just after we went into detail on the Kevin Gausman deal that took place Sunday night. Here's that now. Keegan, Kyle, and Dan with you on trade deadline day in baseball. The Blue Jays trading Kevin Gausman. We're going to break that down in detail. First question to you, Keegs, is the question a lot of Jays fans have. Had the Jays won on Sunday, do the Jays keep Kevin Gausman? Did it all depend on that one game, or am I reading too much into this?
I don't think so, but it was getting into the territory where I was at least curious. They were, once you start to get 3.5, 4 games out of the wild card. Now, I know that the playoff odds were right around 8 or 10%, depending on where you look at, which ain't good. You got to sell if you're only at 8 or 10%. But I understand that if you're a fan looking in at this, you're saying 3.5 games, man. But it's not as simple as just winning the next 4 and having someone else lose. It's so tangled. So the Blue Jays were at least entering a spot where I was getting a little nervous. Like, what way is this going to go? And I think the worst way it could have gone was being stuck in the middle. That's when you screw yourself. That's when you don't get enough for what you have. And it's when you leave yourselves a bit high and dry. It's a very dangerous spot to be in. And I think we're going to see a lot of teams get stuck there, quite frankly, AL and NL. But the Blue Jays, I think, were sellers regardless. And then as that game fell apart in the 9th inning, there was this sense of like, oh yeah, oh, there they are. Okay, the last 3 days were not this brand new baseball team. There they are again. It's time to sell, man. And it's even when you know it's coming, it has begun. And still shocking to see it happen to Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, Keegan, I was actually with my father yesterday, who I would say represents kind of the average Blue Jays fan. Like, we all talk about this sport and this team often, but the people that observe it, he was like, geez, they're only this many games back. But I explained to him, it's not really about the number of games, it's about the number of teams you'd have to hurdle. And it's important to protect the future of this franchise. And with that contract expiring, it is important to deal him and at least get something back instead of nothing, because they've gone down that road before. What did they get back for Kevin Gausman?
It's not going to excite many people, unfortunately. And even if the Blue Jays had have traded for some organization's number one prospect, it's not going to excite anyone because you are trading one of the faces of this franchise and one of the faces of this competitive era for the Blue Jays guys. And it kind of surprised me to think of this the other day. But Kevin Gausman is kind of like this generation's pitcher, really. Like when you look back at the 15 and 16 postseason teams, like let's draw the line at when Roy Halladay left Toronto, okay? Since then, like the postseason teams, you had your trade for David Price, you had Marco Estrada and some guys who were solid in there. But Kevin Gausman, I think, is the pitcher for young Blue Jays fans who have come up with these teams. Soon it will be Dylan Cease. But there is a level of affection there that is warranted and genuine, and no one's going to be excited about it. So the Blue Jays got back infielder Ty Southanese and outfielder Brett Bateman. Southanese ranks now number 17 in our farm system rankings out of the top 30. Bateman ranks 20. So call them mid-range prospects. These are not guys who are going to be on a top 100 list. They're not going to excite you. Now, for Blue Jays fans who want to see a little more power, this is not your trade. Ty Southanese, I think, has played 156 minor league games, 0 home runs. Okay, he is a average and on-base guy. He's 5'7". There's no power there. He is the small spark plug, steal you a base, get on base at a 420 clip type of guy. It's intriguing, but the Blue Jays do have a lot of that. Brett Bateman, I think, will be interesting sooner for Blue Jays fans. He's 24 years old. He's in AAA right now. A similar profile, though. There's not much power at all. Just 2 or 3 home runs this year, but he gets on base. He makes a ton of contact. And I know a lot of Blue Jays fans hear that and they're like, oh my God, more of this, But Bateman, the exciting thing, if you want to try to get excited, is that he can play a really good center field. Fast, good defender, high upside there. Now, one of the comps, which I know people are having fun with in his MLB pipeline profile, is Miles Straw, who the Blue Jays have already. And if you can develop a bit better than that and be a platoon center fielder or just a really good defender out there, it's an option for the Blue Jays. But again, it doesn't feel like prospects who are going to raise the ceiling of this organization next year. More mid-range. And that's where the Blue Jays are at with Gausman, probably with Bieber and others as well.
I found out the Kevin Gausman news while on a late night trip to Arby's with one of my daughters. I will go to my grave. Arby's is so underrated that it's criminal.
I'll agree with you. There's one right along the main drag, Gulf to Bay Boulevard in Clearwater, Florida, that I drive by every day over my 40 days in spring training. Arby's hears from me regularly.
Yes.
Spring training.
So the curly fries just they never disappoint. So she tells me the news. And then we sit down over my beef and cheddar and she's having curly fries and she goes, that must suck getting traded when you're a player. And I am so jaded with my career in sports reporting that I said, he's going to a team and might win. But then I got home and I'm like, yeah, now I get it. Like, he's uprooted from his family. He's leaving a city that he loves. And I dehumanized the trade and what it actually means to a player like Kevin Gausman, who is a very present father. And as you said, Keys, the best athlete you've ever covered.
Yeah, this is a tough on a personal side for any player. I know it's easy for me, and I do this too much to say, hey, he's making 22 mil, whatever. Go play on Jupiter. I don't care. But when you have a young family, like his two young girls, Sutton and Sadie, his wife Taylor, like they've been such an important part of the whole environment around the Blue Jays with the families and all the work that they do. You are suddenly uprooted in an instant. You know, you might have a bit of a feeling where you might be going, but you go from your home in Toronto, and they live in a neighborhood. Like they don't just live in the closest glass condo. They live in a home in a neighborhood in Toronto. And suddenly you're probably just thrown into a hotel in Chicago. Now, Chicago has nice hotels, you'll be all right, but you're thrown out of a routine that you've been in with your family as well. And I feel for that. I really do. And I'm trying to do a better job of this too, because it's, you know, people, whether you cover baseball, if you're a coach, if you're a clubhouse attendant, if you're a player, like we're all kind of part of this baseball life, which is a very strange life that only the people inside really understand, given how frequent the games are, how much travel there is, the complete on and off nature where you're just go, go, go for 8 months and then you sit on your couch for 4. Like it's a strange life. And I try to have a respect and love for the people who live it and their families as well, man. And it's I can't imagine. Now, again, lower stakes because I make slightly less than Kevin Gausman. Not to get too in the weeds, just a little bit less. But I can't imagine waking up tomorrow to a call from my boss and saying, "Hey, man, the next 2 months you have to go work in Cincinnati." I'd say, "Dude, what?" You know, it's a complete upheaval for someone who's been very much in his routines for a lot of years, and to go from someone who is the face of an organization to a guy who is probably walking around the clubhouse in Chicago today, shaking hands and saying, "Nice to meet you. I'm Kevin." That's weird. It's a real shift in where you stand in an organization.
Keegan, the case for moving on from Gausman here, I mean, from a business point of view for this team and the way this season's gone, it's very defensible. I mean, they could not risk getting nothing back for someone of his caliber. And even though they didn't get a lot, it's not zero. But there's another consideration here to make, and we may see this again later today with George Springer. They're losing someone who is at the nucleus of this franchise, at this team. He's a clubhouse glue. He is stalwart, and he's just the type of person that it's not easy to move on for all of the non-baseball reasons. If he's been dealt, as Springer goes too, those are two of those key guys. How does a baseball team begin to replace someone like that? Is it up to others to step up, or do they look in the offseason for someone to fill those types of roles?
It's hard because when you try to find leadership, you fail. You know, it's like giving yourself a nickname, man. It never works. And the Blue Jays tried for years to find, just pick up and insert a leader on this team. Think of Brandon Belt. Think of Justin Turner. A lot of these guys they brought in who were 36, 38 years old and had a reputation. But you need to build that. And I've learned that just reputation and age don't do it. Like Miles Straw is one of the most important players to this team, to this clubhouse. He's not a superstar. Okay. Like I like Miles as a ball player. He ain't a superstar, but he's so important to this clubhouse. And you need to consider that when you're kind of tearing down a team. There's such thing as tearing down too much. You lose your identity. You lose what the team is. Even if they were to go out and trade Shane Bieber and get rid of Max Scherzer today, who's pitching? Like, how
Yeah.
ugly do you want it to get down the stretch? It needs to stay respectable, and you need to maintain a certain standard. That's the word I'm looking for that John Schneider uses a lot. There's got to be a standard, and that standard has been set, not met this year whatsoever, but it's still got to exist. So that's up to Vladdy. That is up to some of these core players, even going down to Ernie Clement, to hold this standard. And it's so hard in baseball because this is not a contact sport. You cannot go out and fight a guy or hit a guy or give a fiery speech in the locker room saying we've got to go out there and kick their ass. That doesn't work. Holding a standard means really steadily giving a damn every single day. Don't slip up and start showing up at 6 p.m. because you had a late night the night before and you want to coast to the end of the season. Leadership in baseball means Vladdy still being one of the first guys in there, still caring to take his defensive drills every day instead of saying, whatever, we're 10 games out. It's very subtle and it's very daily, kind of over and over again. But you need to hold the standard, because if you start to slip on that, every young guy that comes in is going to say, "Oh, whatever, I can start showing up a little later too." It's a dangerous, slippery slope to go down. And guys like Gausman, George Springer have held that standard for a lot of years. More is going to fall on Vladdy now.
When you write your next book on the Blue Jays in 25 years, and you rank the top 5 starting pitchers in Jays history, you're gonna have Roy Halladay, Dave Stieb, Pat Henkin, Jimmy Key. Does Kevin Gausman slide into the top 5 best Blue Jays starters of all time?
He's right in there. He's in that conversation, like it. And I wish that he had been here for 8 or 9 years, right? Like I've gotten the question a couple of times: does he belong in the level of excellence? Like, okay, like let's pump the brakes. If Jimmy Key isn't, let's calm down. But that's nothing to do with who he's been or his performance. It's just longevity. But I think he's in that now. When you pitch in a World Series like that, that lasts forever. The top 3 Cy Young Award finish, the strikeout totals only behind Roger Clemens in a season, that lasts. And I've learned more to admire consistency over the years. I've covered enough Alek Manoahs, guys who come up, and I've covered enough relievers who can throw 100. And it's really cool until your elbow explodes, okay? What impresses me now are guys who can come up and do it over and over and over again, like Jose Barrios did for a decade. That's why I'll always defend Barrios, because when you do that for 10 years, it's so rare to do it over and over like that. And what Gausman's done in this city, the consistency, along with who he's been off the field and around this team, the consistency fascinates me. I know we want to tune in every night and watch Jacob Mizorowski throw 105, and I get it. That's really cool. But I have such a deep appreciation for who Gausman's been as a pitcher. And he has to be up in those conversations with the all-time greats in Toronto. And especially, again, for this era of baseball. You look back through the eras, the 80s had Steve and Jimmy Key, great rotations. You had the Roy Halladay era, which was incredible and lasted a long time for a lot of very blessed Blue Jays fans. Now you've had this era, and I think that 20 years from now, we'll look back on kind of Kevin Gausman handing off to Dylan Cease, this 10 or 12-year era where they had at least one really damn good pitcher.
Keegan, in a somewhat dramatic twist of fate, it seems as though it's possible that Kevin Gausman's first start in a Cubs uniform could come against these Toronto Blue Jays on Thursday night. I'll be honest with you, as a Gausman fan, as a fan of all of this and someone wishing him the best, there's literally nothing I would like to see more than to have that happen.
Man, it would feel, I don't know what a Blue Jays fan would hope for in that game. Like, that it's 0-0 through 6, and then the Blue Jays
Correct.
get to the Cubs bullpen. Like, I guess that's what you're hoping for, that nothing happens for 6 innings. I'm curious to see if they let that happen. It would be pretty tough emotionally for Gausman, I think. And the Blue Jays would know exactly what to look for. Like, if anyone knows Gausman,
Yeah.
it's the Blue Jays. So maybe that's a bit risky. We'll see if it happens, man. But I can already see the engagement farming tweets. And it's like when Danny Jansen played for the same team in one game. Can you believe that Kevin Gausman? So we'll see, man. But I was hoping he'd land with a team that would come back to Rogers Center this year, just so he could get a real proper send-off. I know he got a good one last start, but that'll be weird. And my God, he'll need to invent a new pitch. If he's going to face the Blue Jays, they'll be all over him.
One thing the Gausman trade did do to Jays fans, it is deflate the balloon of expectations, because if the return on Gausman was 2 guys no one's heard of, I can't even begin to speculate if they traded Max Scherzer what they get in return, as Scherzer upped his trade value with his best start of the season on Sunday.
It was pretty good, man. Little adrenaline for the old guy goes a long way. It's, if you are a contending team that's young, and maybe you're in the spot the Blue Jays have been in, kind of where like they're using Spencer Miles-ish as their 5th starter. If you're a team like that who wants to settle down the rotation and just take a shot, maybe. Now, you're not going to give anything up. It will be a cash considerations or player to be named later. And if that player is named later, it's probably some 17-year-old kid in the Dominican Summer League that if we hear of him 4 years from now, wow, like great. It won't even be something I view as a trade. It will be something I view more as the Blue Jays kind of placing Max Scherzer somewhere. You know, like this guy's a legend. Let's place him somewhere where he's happy, where he's got a shot at this. And frankly, at this point, I don't mean this disparagingly to Scherzer, just the reality of this team. There's not much point with him pitching down the stretch now if they're selling off in Toronto. You're better off giving these innings to a younger guy or bringing someone in and allowing Max Scherzer to take one more shot somewhere. If he sticks somewhere else, I don't know. Is he going to be healthy for 2 or 3 months? I really don't know. But he's an interesting one, man. I know that when I've said over the last couple of weeks, Max Scherzer is a trade candidate, it's the reaction is like, how could that be possible? Every trade ain't a blockbuster, okay? This could just be for a little bit of cash or for a player to be named way, way later who we never hear of. Kind of, I think the way I said it last week was that the team would not be trading for him as much as just like adopting him and saying, all right, Max, come play for us. Take one more run at this. And he showed that when he's healthy, he's still got it, man. I don't know how long he stays healthy, but he's on adrenaline alone and maybe a few more shots in his thumb. He's still got it.
Scherzer, of course, is one of the last dominoes that could fall on today's trade deadline. The rest, of course, being George Springer, Dalton Varsho, Jeff Hoffman, and Shane Bieber. And we'll actually be back on here to discuss that should any of those major moves happen. But do you hear or see anything right now that shows the Jays are also out shopping for pieces for next year or later this season?
I do, and that still needs to be part of this. Picking up Jameson Taillon, like interesting enough, but that's really just to fill in for Gausman. Smart way to do it, and I like them doing that just so that you're not throwing out CJ Van Eyck or Lazaro Estrada every day. You got to keep this respectable so that you're not killing your bullpen and killing the morale of your organization. You got to keep it respectable. I do still believe that they're involved looking for long-term starters and potentially even a long-term center fielder, if that's out there. The tough part, though, is that if a starting pitcher, let's just use a mysterious starting pitcher, is available right now, are the Blue Jays going to be more motivated than a team that's contending for the 2026 World Series? I don't know. And if you're going to outbid a team that's competing this year, you're probably by definition overpaying. You're paying a real premium because the team that's competing this year, let's say you're going and you're bidding against the Tampa Bay Rays for a pitcher. They're trying to win a World Series. They value these next 2 months. The Blue Jays don't really value the next 2 months. So you're bidding on different things. You are trying, by definition, to pay more than the competition for who you're looking at. It's a tough market. I think it would make more sense if the Blue Jays find a spot where they can take back some money, eat some money, kind of flex their financial muscle in a way that might not be as appealing to these contenders. But if they are going out and trying to find one of the obvious names, like Detmers or Soriano with the Angels, you're going to be paying a real premium there. And that is very tough when you're trying to restock the shelves. You hear the term thread the needle, like the Detroit Tigers. They're trying to thread the needle. No one ever threads the needle. Okay. It's one of the worst phrases in sports. And what it means is that your ownership group has decided to sell, but they still want you to come to games, is what that means.
Let's end with a conspiracy theory about Tarek Skubal going to the Dodgers. And the conspiracy is all the owners got together and they said, yeah, let's let it happen so we can ensure a work stoppage next year.
Oh, we cracked it. You're going to get a knock on your door tonight, Dan. There's going to be a man in a black suit, and all you're going to hear is bang. It's not good, man. I don't know who beats the Dodgers. I'm really shocked the Brewers didn't do something, man. Not only are you losing an elite pitching option, you're probably going to have to face Tarek Skubal in the NLCS twice. That is as big a miss as you can get in baseball. Imagine Skubal with Jacob Mizorowski up top. Then you can take a run at the Dodgers, man. And it's tough because this isn't free agency. Like any team could have gone out and outbid the Dodgers. This was not a breathtaking package. It was good. It's not amazing. but it still feeds into the narrative, and it still feeds into people's fears about the offseason. So I continue to believe that just like the Blue Jays and the Dodgers last year in the World Series, there will be a lot of people cheering against the Dodgers. And if they were to lose somehow, some way, I don't know how, that would change the public discourse significantly. Because if they win the World Series, man, all three of us know which way that's going, and it's not a good discourse we'll end up in.
All right. Well, any more Jays news? We'll see you back here later today, my friend.
You got her, guys.